Hello grade 12s, this is the last video for today on still reconciliations. This is we're doing internal reconciliations for the debtors control and debtors list. Task 11.7 and 11.8 work together, so there will be just one video for these tasks, and I've also saved it in the Dropbox. You can just switch between the sheets to see each task. Okay, so the first thing we need to do in task 11.7 is just fill in the missing details in the debtors ledger. Okay, so you must remember that in the debtors ledger, because this is debtors control, when we debit an amount, the balance increases, and when we credit an amount, the balance decreases. So in order to get the next balance here, we're just going to say 3120 minus 2000. Okay, and then we'll take that answer, subtract 200. And we'll take that answer, add 996, and so on and so forth. Okay, so remember that whenever you have a figure in the debit column, you'll be adding, and whenever you have a figure in the credit column, you'll be subtracting. That will give us these answers here. Okay, so for example, 1728 minus 800 gives you 928. You can look at that yourself. Right? We're going to do the same thing for Sandeepa's account. Okay, so this is the debtors ledger. So that means that each debtor has their own account in the debtors ledger, and this is then summarized in the debtors list. So for example, if you look at Sandeepa, we started with 2456, debited 200, so the balance became 2656, credited 1900, so the balance became 756, and carrying on like that until we arrive at 570. Now these two balances at the end of the January, so 928 for Impo and 570 for Sandeepa, will be transferred to the debtors list. So go to 11.7.3 and we can do that first before we do 11.7.2. So for Impo, it will be the balance at the end of the month of 928. And for Sandeepa, the balance at the end of the month of 570. You just have to add up these amounts now. Okay, now the reason I put these figures in the debit column is because this is debtors control. If it was creditors control, they would have been in the credit column. Sometimes debtors can have credit balances, but that's not very common. If they do, then we will put it into the credit column. Okay, so this amount here is very important, 1498, because when we do the debtors control account now, it should balance out to 1498. Okay, so in the debtors control account, okay, sorry, I just made a mistake here. I'm just going to fix that quickly. Okay, we just studied these figures don't belong here. I'm just going to remove them quickly. Okay, they actually belong to task 11.8. Okay, so I've set up the debtors control account with the standard format, and I suggest that you do learn the format so that if you need to do it in exams, you just go in, put in the format, and then go to your question to find the figures that are required, right? Okay, so this is debtors control. It's an asset, so it increases on the debit side and it decreases on the credit side. The balance is brought down on the debit side, and it increases when we sell more goods to the debtors on account. It decreases when they pay from the CRJ, when they return goods from the DAJ. RD checks increase debtors control because the debtors are owing us the money again. And then we have journal debits on the debit side and journal credits on the credit side. You can call it journal debits and journal credits or sundry accounts, it doesn't matter. Okay, so the balance brought down is the first figure. Okay, in order to get the balance brought down, we're going to take the balances at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the month for Impo and Sandeepa. So we're just going to say 3120 plus 2456. Okay, then you're going to go through your transactions to see from the ledger accounts any transactions from the DJ. Okay, so in Impo's account we have a DJ transaction of 996, And Sandeepa, so we have a transaction for 200. We're just going to add up those two amounts. Okay, so 996 from info and 200 from Sandeepa. The RD check, so you can just see there's a check unpaid from the CPJ. There is one for info of 1,900. Okay, then we're going to look for CRJ transactions. Okay, so in info's account, there's 3 CRJ transactions. We're going to add them all up. So 2,000, 200, and 800. In Sandeepa's account, there's also 2 CRJ transactions. We're going to add those two on. So 1,986. Okay, so 4,986. Then we're going to look for any debtors allowances transactions. Okay, and there is one only for info, 188. So we're going to put that in, 188. Now, general journal transactions, there aren't any in this part of the question, so we're just going to leave that for now. The debit side is bigger in this account, so you're going to put your answer in on both sides. You put 8672 on both sides, and then just balance out to find the balance. So we're going to say 8672 minus 4986 and minus 188. Okay, and that clear out by 2000. I think I may have made a mistake. Let me just look back here. Okay, sorry. There was one CRJ transaction which I forgot to record. Okay, so it was 2,200 and 800 from Info's account for the CRJ transaction, and from Sandeepa's account 1,986 and 2,000. So I'm just going to add on another 2,000 here, and then it will balance. Okay, so the reason I knew it was 2,000 is because I worked out the difference in my mind and then just found it in the question. Because the balance carried down will be the same as the balance brought down, and it is balancing because it's the same as the debtors list. Okay, so now task 11.8 we're going to do now, but before we do that, I'm going to take some of the figures that I've already calculated in this ledger account and bring them down into task 11.8 ledger account, right? So I'm just going to do that really quickly. Okay, so you can just give me a minute. Okay, so in task 11.8, we're also doing a debtors control account, and I have put in the balances already. Okay, so all I'm going to do now is bring the balances that we've already calculated from the previous question. Okay, so the balance brought down 5576. And now you can see I'm actually going to open up a bracket next to each figure and bring in those figures. So in an exam question, if you've got the situation, you have a question with a ledger account, you would open up a new ledger account with the same details and then just put the figures in brackets. Okay. Okay, so I just brought those same figures down. Okay, now we're going to start with 11.8. So it says refer to task 11.7 above. After the control account in the list were compiled, Guillermo realized that the following had not been considered. Okay, and we need to indicate how each of these would affect or is going to be treated, and then we also need to do the journal entries. We're going to do the debtors control account and the debtors list. Now in the debtors list as well, I have drawn out the debtors list again, but what we'll do on the side is bring down the same balances we had from the previous question, because in exam questions, these figures will have been given to you on the question and you can also do the same thing. Okay, okay, so let's start. We're going to do 11.8.1 and 11.8.2 together because they're quite similar. So number 1, the discount on Sandeepa's unpaid check, see the 8, had not been cancelled. So if you look at Sandeepa's account on the 8th, she made a payment of 1,900 and we gave her a discount of 86 Rand. But then the check was returned unpaid for 1,900. So the discount wasn't cancelled. Now this discount you can see is in the credit column. We need to cancel it. So that means we will debit, we have to debit Sandeepa's debtors control account and credit discount allowed. We're going to debit debtors control for Sandeepa because she's owing us the money again. We'll be adding. And we're going to credit discount allowed with 86 and if we're doing the income statement, we will subtract it. Okay, so the journal entry is just exactly that. Okay, we're going to debit debtors control for Esquala and we're going to credit discount allowed. Okay, if you wanted a narration, you would say discount on RT check cancelled. Okay, this will go into the general ledger columns. Okay, it will also affect debtors control in the debit column. Remember, the debtors control is affected when one of the entry accounts is debtors control. And whatever we did to that account, we'll put in the relevant column. So because I debited debtors control here, I put the 86 in the debit column of the debtors control column. Next, number 2. The allowance given to Info on the 20th was incorrectly recorded in the journal as 188 instead of 118. I'm sorry, before we move on with this, okay, I'm also going to be doing the debtors list at the same time. So for Sandeepa 570, we debited with 86. So that means I'm going to be adding on 86 here in this calculation. Okay, so then the allowance given to Info was incorrectly recorded in the journal as 188 instead of 118. Now when allowance decreases debtors control. So we decreased it with 188 instead of 118. So to correct it, we're going to have to increase debtors control. So we're going to have to debit debtors control for Info. So that means we're going to increase. And we're going to credit debtors allowances of 70 Rand because the debtors allowances amount actually has to decrease. Okay, so we're going to do that in our journal. Okay, we're going to debit debtors control of Info Zungu and credit debtors allowances. And the amount you can use is the difference between the two amounts. So 188 minus 118. Okay, and it again affects debtors control in the debit column, like I explained earlier. Okay, we're going to then go to Info's account. Okay, we debited debtors control, so that means we'll be adding on the amount, which was 17. Okay, carry on. Number 3. Invoice W1240 issued to Sandeepa on the 4th had been incorrectly recorded as 200 in the journal instead of 220. Okay, so an invoice is when we sell goods to the debtor. We were supposed to record it as 220, but we recorded it as 200, which means we understated it. So we're going to have to debit debtors control and credit sales with 20 Rand. Okay, we're going to go to that in the general journal as well. We're going to debit debtors control and we're going to credit sales with 20 Rand. Okay, it affects debtors control again in the debit column. Okay, so and then we go to Sandeepa's account. Because we debited debtors control, we're also going to add on 20 to her account. Okay, then number 4, Guillermo was informed that Sandeepa had suddenly left the country. On 31st January, he instructed the bookkeeper to write off her account. Okay, now to write off her account, we need to look at her account. How much is she owing? 570 plus 86 plus 20. Okay, you can just work that out somewhere on the side. 570 plus 86 plus 20, which gives us 676. So the amount we're going to write off is 676. So I'm going to subtract that here. So that means balance will become 0. You can put a dash there. Okay, and let's fix up the rest of it. Now when we write off a bad debt, we debit bad debts and we credit debtors control for the amount of 676. Okay, so bad debts will increase and debtors control will decrease. Okay, and let's just do that in the journal as well. We're going to debit bad debts and we're going to credit debtors control of Esquala with the amount of 676. And this time debtors control will be credited. Okay, and I've already done that here, so we can move on. The first one, impose account was overdue from the previous month. We had to be charged 75 in interest. So when we charge a debtor interest, it increases the amount they're owing. So we debit debtors control, we credit interest income. We're going to be adding to debtors control, and we're going to be adding to interest income. Okay, journal entry, debit debtors control, credit interest income with the amount of 75, and debtors control will be increasing in the debit column, 75. We're going to then go to impose account and add on 75. Okay, we can finish off our debtors list now. Santipas we've already done. We're just going to work out impose amount and put it in the debit column. So 928 plus 70 plus 75, 1073. We're going to work out the answer. Okay, let's go on here. Okay, now with the debtors control account, I could have also done it while we were doing that, but I didn't want to do that because I want to explain it to you separately. Okay, remember we brought out all the balances from the previous question, and now we're just going to adjust it for these figures. Now these adjustments all happened in the general journal, so we could just put it here with sundry accounts on the debit side and on the credit side. Alternatively, we could put it into the account which it belongs in. Okay, so I'm going to do, if we can put it into the account it belongs in, I'm going to do that, and the rest we put as sundry accounts. But it would have not been incorrect if you had just brought down all of these balances and done everything in the sundry accounts. Okay, so the first one is the discount, which had not been cancelled. Okay, so our journal entry was credit discount allowed. Now discount allowed is recorded here as bank and discount allowed. So if we say credit discount allowed, we are actually reversing the discount. So I'm going to subtract the amount there of 86 Rand. Okay. Then the next one, the allowance was incorrectly recorded as 188 instead of 118. The difference we calculated there was 70 Rand. And we set debit debtors control and credit debtors allowances. Okay, so now normally, okay, so we're crediting debtors allowances. Okay, so that means we're making the debtors allowances actually less with 70 then. Okay, so it's 188 minus 70. Then invoice W124 had been incorrectly recorded as 200 in the journal instead of 220. So that is the TJ transaction. Okay, so this TJ transaction is included in this amount here. It was supposed to be 220, but we only recorded it as 200. So we're just going to add on 20 there. Okay, then Guillermo was informed that Sandeepa had suddenly left the country and the bad debt needed to be written off. So the journal entry for that is debit bad debts and credit debtors control, and that was the amount we worked out of 676. So we're just going to put it here in salary accounts on the credit side, 676, because we credited debtors control. And the last one, we charged interest, and interest doesn't have its own place here, so we'll just put it with sundry accounts. When we charge a debtor interest, debtors control increases, so we put it on the debit side. Okay, we now go and fill in all the figures. Okay, work it out. Okay, and then balance of the account. You'll notice that the balance carried down and the balance brought down is the same as the balance we calculated earlier in the debtors list, so that this question is balancing. Okay, so that's all for these two questions. You will now try task 11.9, 11.10, 11.11, and 11.12 by yourself. And I am obviously on hand to help you with any questions you may have. Okay, so please submit all your homework by Monday, and I'll be posting more work later on Monday. Bye.